Well, hello there. Thanks for joining me. I am Dr. Jen, and this is My Life as a Landlord. I'm so pleased that you've joined me for today's show. And normally I have this well-crafted guest and a nice framework and conversation and interview questions and all kinds of fun stuff that you may not even realize that I have going on behind the scenes. But today I'm not doing that. I'm doing this on the fly pretty much because I have to. About a week ago, I had to give eviction paperwork to one of my longest tenants that I've had in a while, and I haven't evicted someone in 6 years. And because I have a podcast called My Life as a Landlord, it just is this air, or at least I think there's this air that I'm perfect, I can do no wrong. And so this has been a bit of a ego blow for me because I'm having to end tenancy on someone that I've worked with for a long time. So I'm making a podcast episode because I'm human and enough is enough. You're going to see, I'm going to tell you the story of what's going on. And this is part one, by the way, because we're still in the middle of all this. This tenant could dispute this. I have no idea if they're going to trash the unit. Hopefully not. They might. They might leave early. They might leave quietly. They might not leave at all. I'm not really sure how this is going to go. And this is why I wanted to get on and just show you that I'm human too. I'm still a landlord. And and sometimes it's just not easy. So I'm going to walk you through how we did this. So I in 2021 I rented one of my apartments to a gal and her boyfriend, and it worked just fine. You know, everybody just sort of went along. We did our annual maintenance, we did our maintenance checks, we did everything that we were supposed to do. In fact, in 2023, I ended up hiring her to do some cleaning of the common areas, and I paid her quite a bit of money monthly to pay to clean the common areas in the laundry area in this apartment building. Now, you're going to see very soon that we figured out that she basically, we're not sure she ever cleaned, right? So how you do anything is how you do everything. So you're going to see that here so shortly. But in April of 2024, so 3 years in, I got an email from her boyfriend saying that he was moving out and she was on her own. Now, I failed to do something when he sent that email. I should have sent an immediate document that said, everyone agrees that he's no longer on the lease. I didn't do that. I somehow missed that point for whatever reason was going on, and I missed that point. By the end of 2024, she's been on her own for 8 months. In 2024, it was pretty clear from the whole crew that nothing was ever getting cleaned. I was paying her for nothing, and you get what you manage, right? And so I let her know that we are not, that we were hiring other people to clean because she wasn't doing anything. And of course, there was no discussion about anything. There were multiple times that I had tried to meet with her in 2024 about the cleaning, multiple times. She just stood me up. I don't know why I put up with it, because I just big fat didn't want to deal with it, right? And that's kind of what you do. You just sort of plod along and go, you know, how much is enough? And I had gotten to that point. But then we jump into 2025, April of 2025. My crew started telling me that they're seeing there's a lot of guests hanging out, and there's even a dog over there. And okay, so I emailed her and just said, hey, you're the only authorized person in this unit. In fact, at that point, it was still her and her old boyfriend. I had not removed him. And I said, it looks like you've got some guests hanging out at your unit a lot, including an adult male, what appeared to be his teenage daughter, and some kind of dog. No pets were authorized for her unit. And I emailed her, and she gave me a song and dance that the child was sick. And I said, okay, I'm a human. They're only staying during the week, blah, blah, blah. And I said, look, just a reminder, guests are not allowed to have a key and they're not allowed to use the laundry. And we're pretty sure they just straight up moved in. In May of 2025, we did annual maintenance, including into that unit, and I was a part of annual maintenance that time. That's not always the case, but I happened to be there. We did annual maintenance. She has a 2-bedroom unit, and there was clearly someone living in the second bedroom and more dog stuff. So there clearly was stuff going on. Again, I put my head in the sand. I saw it myself, and I said, okay, as long as they're all behaving and everybody's okay, you know, how much do I want to push this and just leave it, right? So skip to closer to today, September of 2025. I went to the apartments. I forget what we were. Oh, we were showing units. We were showing units. We had some vacancies because we have had a large apartment building come on the market. And so the rental markets in Powell River have been sort of on their head because a lot of tenants are shifting around. And so I've seen more units on like Craigslist and Kijiji and some of these other Facebook marketplace that I've never seen. A lot of these units, I've never seen them available, which tells me that a lot of people are shifting around. So I was taking the liberty. We had vacancies in this building. I was showing the units and noticed that there were two dogs at this person's apartment. And it's like, okay. And then the next day we had to come back and we saw the adult male with the two dogs, two German shepherds. And I just texted her right then and I said, how about we make this right? They're not guests at this point. Can we please qualify them and make this above board? Like, can we just fix all this? And she texted back and she said yes. And at that point, I went back to start qualifying, gave them a rent increase. And then I said, here's what you need to do. This is what we're going to do with the dogs. We need them to apply. And then I gave her a warning letter. I said, you know, you've got these people, these are not authorized people living there, and you have unauthorized pets. And I said, you know, there's no other animals in the building. It's just these pets. We need to make this right. But at this point, when I was doing all this paperwork, I forgot that I had not removed her old boyfriend from the lease. And I'm like, oh crap, here we go. So I had to do this first. It's just a one pager. It's a, hey, it's a lease between you and me. Um, Originally, we have original tenants that had signed the lease, which was the two of them. Everybody agrees that as of, you know, so and so date, he's no longer there. The only authorized being is her. That's it. And so eventually everybody signed electronically. Again, I had given her a letter on the door of what to do to have her boyfriend, the daughter, the dogs, everybody apply at the website to get them qualified. And I gave them 10 days to do this. Now keep in mind, because we had two vacancies at our apartment building this summer, there's a lot of applications flying. Like there's a lot of email traffic and people on our website, and there's a lot of things going on here. So there's no reason to think that the website wasn't working. So then September 15th came and went, no application, no anything from them at all. Now I'm getting mad because a leopard doesn't change its spots. She's not done anything. She's never met me with the cleaning. She never cleaned, took my money, and now this is exactly what's happening is nobody's doing anything. So September 22nd, I sent her an email asking her what is going on. And then it's a pretty reasonable request for a landlord to know what's happening in the building with the adults who are staying there with two big dogs, none of which are authorized. So at this point, it was sort of in this mix that the old boyfriend did sign the document electronically, removing him from the lease, which was fine. And then we had finally gotten the document stating that he had refused to sign, but then he signed. Okay, anyway, again, paper trails are really important. So then September 28th, now remember the end of the month is September 30th in British Columbia, where this rental is. If you're going to evict someone for cause, you have to serve them by the end of the month for the following month. Now, there's a caveat in this, which I'll tell you in a second. But September 28th, she emails me back that something, quote unquote, was submitted on September 12th on the website. Well, I emailed her back and I said, I never got it. And we've had a bit of turnover, so I know the website forms are working. In short, she lied again. Now, she may have tried to email me. I have absolutely no idea. But at this point, I just said, you've got to fix this immediately. And I sent her several emails. And at that point, I realized that she's not going to do anything. I got to a point in the two-bedroom unit with two adults, a teenage minor, and two large dogs. If you do the calculation, they're actually over the being limit for that apartment. This is an apartment, which means they wouldn't qualify even if they did apply as requested, which they didn't. So the last straw for me, September 28th, I get an email from the cleaners that there are fleas and pet hair in the common laundry upstairs in a 12-unit building. And the only animals in the entire building are the ones staying illegally at her place, which means she's clearly allowing them to do laundry. That's the last straw. So I had enough. I actually called my team and I said, I have to give her papers. I don't want to, but she's forced my hand. That's enough. And so in BC, there's a template for forms for cause, evicting for cause, and I have it up here. I'm going to read this. I'm not going to screen share for privacy's sake, but I am going to read the real one, what I wrote on the exact eviction notice. And there's a bunch of check marks. There's like 15 or 20 check marks of what you can mark. And so I checked a whole bunch. So here it is. So I said, reason for 1 month's notice of tenancy, check all the boxes that apply. So there were 5 that I checked. Now remember, German Shepherds, I don't have any indication if these dogs are aggressive or not. I don't even know who these people are. So here it is. I said, tenant has allowed unreasonable number of occupants into the unit, site, property, park. Tenant or person permitted on the property by the tenant has, and then check 2 boxes underneath that, seriously jeopardize the health or safety or lawful right of another occupant or the landlord, which is the laundry, and put the landlord's property at significant risk, which is the dogs. Then I checked 2 more boxes. I said the tenant or person permitted on the property by the tenant has engaged in illegal activity that has or is likely to have adverse jeopardy, a lawful right of interest, or another occupant or the landlord. In short, they've got these dogs on the property. And the last one I checked was a breach of material term of the tenancy agreement that was not corrected within a reasonable time after written notice to do so. Any one of those 5 would have done it, but I did all 5. So we'll see. Well, she can still dispute it, and I will keep reading because there is a justification portion. It says details of the cause. Describe what, where, and who caused the issue. Include dates, times, names, etc. The information is required, and the arbitrator, because that's if she disputes this, then the arbitrator may cancel this notice if details are not provided. Okay, I'm going to read you what I wrote. This is actually what was on the eviction notice. Tenant has been warned of unauthorized occupants in the unit multiple times over multiple months, as she is the only authorized occupant of the unit. Communication with her about this, including emails exchanged about guests, April 2nd, 3rd, 7th, 2025, including at least 1 dog. April 10th, 2025, the tenant was reminded that all guests were not permitted to have a key or use the laundry as per the lease. May 12th and 13th, 2025, landlord conducted walkthroughs of all units as a part of annual maintenance and saw beds in the 2nd bedroom of this unit, along with unauthorized pet dishes, etc. September 4th, 2025, landlord saw 2 German Shepherd dogs with adult male enter and exit the unit, and then texted the tenants about the guests continuing to be at the unit. September 5th, 2025, posted warning letter number 1 on the back door of the unit at shoulder height, stating that all occupants would need to qualify to be added to the lease and the dogs would have to be approved, asking to submit an application ASAP. September 22nd, 2025, after no response and no application from the quote-unquote guests, emailed the tenant asking what is going on, warning letter number 2. Also on September 22nd, 2025, received an email from the building cleaners that there were fleas and pet hair in the laundry, and this tenant has the only animals in the building. September 29th, 2025, emailed the tenant, previous co-tenant was removed from the lease, reminding that she still has unauthorized occupants and no application received as requested. Warning letter number 3. We've given many chances to declare and qualify the additional occupants and review the 2 large dogs. The dogs are not approved and the guests are clearly using the laundry. This is now impacting the entire building, and we have no idea who these people are. I don't even know the guy's name. Qualifying occupants and animals in the building is a reasonable and proper request for the landlord. We are no longer interested in working with this tenant. Short and sweet, but very to the point. So that's what I did. So then I had my crew on the ground as I'm recording this from Maui, print it out, post it on the door, take a photo of it, and then send it to me so that they could see it. So the effective date of the timing, they posted it on September 30th. The problem is, if you keep reading on this, the effective date of the notice, if you post it on the door, is considered served after 3 days. So we posted it on September 30th, but I could not put the effective date of the eviction at October 31st because it's not properly served. So I had to put the effective notice of the eviction as November 30th. So I basically gave them 2 months notice that they need to leave. So the other thing that we were hoping, because we did this on September 30th, October rent was due October 1st. She is a serial late payer, but here's the funny thing. It's late in my mind because I have just set the standard that rent is due on or before midnight on the 1st. And we have a whole process. Like we have a whole thing of going, we accept everything. We have the e-transfers. We have everything in or for my American friends, this would be a Venmo. Anything electronically, we get sent in, and anybody that's missing by about 2 or 3 o'clock on the 1st, they get a rent reminder email. And it's just a standard email that says, hey, tenant, we haven't received your rent here. Just a kind reminder, you got to pay it by midnight, blah, blah, blah. She plays it late in the day on the 1st. So it is not late by any means, but she always does this. But when she did it on October 1st, everyone was kind of going, is she even going to pay October rent? Because if she didn't pay October rent, then you've got there's a whole bit of a process for that for non-payment of rent. It would have gotten out faster, going, okay, if she hadn't paid October rent, then she would have gotten another notice on October 2nd saying your rent is now officially late. You have a $25 late fee. And then on the 3rd, we would have posted a second eviction notice for non-payment of rent, meaning you have 5 days from the 3rd or 10 days to get out. So then she would have had to pay by the 8th or get out by the 13th. So we were all secretly hoping that she would not pay, but she did pay, which was fine. Because we are human, and I do know that we have worked with this person for years here. So it's like, okay, let's see. So for the November 30th move out, we're going to have to refresh the unit, because I know just because she's been in there for 4 years and now she's had dogs in there, we're going to have to be refreshing the unit. And it's at the exact wrong time of the year. We're likely going to get it back November 30th, December 1st, not renovate, but just refresh the unit, maybe do some painting and some things, whatever's damaged, we'll deal with, and then have it back on the market available December 15th, which is the exact wrong time to rent any apartment, is right before Christmas, right in the middle of the winter when no one wants to leave. No one wants to be moving in the cold. So the unit may sit empty. It will very likely go back. I might go back to the people on the wait list, and we might have some tenants shuffling within our own fleet. There's some people who've been asking to upgrade to a bigger unit. So it might just get rented within. We'll see. But this is why I'm saying today is part 1, because I don't know how this will end. But what I'll do is I will record a part 2 of this episode in early 2026, so you can know, did she dispute it? Did they trash the unit? Did they leave it all? Did we have to go to arbitration? Did I have to hire a bailiff? What happened? And so it may just be a quick part 2, which I hope. I hope she leaves at the end of October, right? I hope that we can just move on, because again, the goal of an eviction is an empty unit. I'm not looking to get my money. I want the unit back, because that's where the value is to me. So she does have 10 days to dispute the eviction notice. I'm recording this on October 9th. So technically she has until tomorrow, but then you've also got the Canadian Thanksgiving is this weekend. And so honestly, if she doesn't dispute it and then serve me by like Tuesday, even Wednesday next week, then she has basically by acclamation has agreed that she will get out by November 30th. So this is, let me just read you what it says on the RTB 33, which is the BC Residential Tenancy Branch form for eviction for cause. So it says, this is on page 3, information for tenants. It says, you have the right to refuse to dispute this notice within 10 days after you receive it by filling out this application. An arbitrator may extend your time to file an application, but only if he or she accepts your proof that you had a serious or compelling reason not to file the application on time. And if you do not file the application within 10 days, you're presumed to accept this notice and must move out of the rental or vacate the site by the date set out on page 1. And you can move out sooner, which again, the effective date is November 30th. If you do not file an application, move or vacate, your landlord can apply for an order of possession that is enforceable through the court, which would be then enforced through the BC Supreme Court. And then once I get an order of possession, the actual writ of possession, then I can hire a bailiff. Sadly, there are no bailiffs in Paul River, and because it's such a remote area, if I have to do this, I actually have to bring them in, likely fly them in from either Vancouver Island or from Vancouver. And so the nearest bailiff, I think, is either in Nanaimo or Victoria. I've spoken to a couple in Vancouver, but I've never actually had to hire a bailiff. I try to keep my systems super tight. So again, this is a real ego blow for me that I am actually having to evict one of my longtime tenants because, I mean, I have a podcast about landlording. Shouldn't it be all nights and rainbows and sunshine? No, it's not. Sometimes landlording can be the shits, and that's exactly what this is. So anyway, eviction is never fun, not even for me. I'm still human. I'm still striving to be a great human. I don't always achieve it, but I do try. So there you go. Even for the best of us with the systems and writing things down and being uber OCD and screening tenants like crazy, evictions still can and will happen. But hopefully today you can see where I did actively ignore the signs and that I should have taken action well before I did, that there is a breaking point and sometimes enough is enough. And when, quite frankly, when I'm done, I'm done. I'm not sure how part two will turn out, but we will both see what happens very, very soon. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast for more firsthand landlord advice and real estate stories from across the globe. We're recording this episode today, waiting for jury duty on Maui, Hawaii. Why? Because real estate takes you places, and where do you want real estate to take you? Join me next week for episode 181, where I talk California legalese and more with attorney Edwin Schwartz. I'll see you there.